Hey everyone, welcome to Randomness. I'm Brittany, and today we are talking about something that I think is way more interesting than people give it credit for, and that would be luck. Now, I know what you're thinking. Luck, that's just random chance. What's there to talk about? But here's the thing. I don't think luck is nearly as random as we pretend it is. I was having coffee with a friend last week, and she was telling me about this incredible opportunity that just fell into her lap. A job offer from someone she met at a party she almost didn't go to. And she kept saying, I am so lucky. I can't believe how lucky I am. And I'm sitting here thinking, is it luck though? Because this is someone who says yes to invitations, even when she's tired, who asks genuine questions and remembers details about people, who follows up, who puts herself out there constantly, even when she's uncomfortable. Is that luck or is that something else? And then I have another friend who's always complaining about how unlucky he is, how opportunities never come his way, how other people just have it easier. But this is also someone who turns down invitations, who doesn't network, who's cynical about new experiences, who's waiting for success to come knock on his door. So that got me thinking, what if luck isn't something that happens to you? What if it's something you create? What if lucky people aren't actually luckier? They're just better at recognizing and creating opportunities. And what if unlucky people are unconsciously closing doors without even realizing it? Yeah. So today we're diving into the psychology of luck. And I'm warning you right now, if you identify as an unlucky person, this episode might make you uncomfortable because we're going to challenge the idea that you're a victim of circumstance. But stick with me because I think understanding how lucky or how luck actually works might be the most empowering thing you can do for yourself. Let's start with some actual science because there's been legitimate research on this. There's a psychologist named Richard Wiseman who spent years studying luck. He interviewed hundreds of people who identified as either very lucky or very unlucky. And he tried to figure out what the difference was. And what he found was pretty fascinating. Lucky and unlucky people weren't experiencing different levels of random chance. They were experiencing the same world, the same opportunities, the same random events, but they were perceiving them completely differently. He did this experiment where he gave people a newspaper and asked them to count how many photographs were in it. The unlucky people took a couple of minutes and carefully counted every single photo. But here's the thing. On the second page, in huge letters, there was a message that said, "Stop counting. There are 43 photographs in this newspaper." The unlucky people missed it. They were so focused on the task, so rigid in their approach, that they literally didn't see the shortcut right in front of them. The lucky people, they saw it immediately. And that, in a nutshell, is the difference. Lucky people are more relaxed, more open, more aware of what's happening around them. Unlucky people, they're more anxious, more tunnel visioned, more focused on what they expect to happen. But here's what really blew my mind. Wiseman concluded that luck is a learned skill. It's not something you're born with. It's something you can develop. So that's what we're going to break down today. How do you become luckier, and what are the psychological patterns that keep people stuck in cycles of perceived bad luck? So we're going to go over the 4 principles of lucky people. And based on Wiseman's research and other psychological studies, there are 4 main characteristics that lucky people share. And I want to walk through each one, because I think once you see the pattern, you can start implementing it in your own life. So, principle number 1, lucky people create and notice chance opportunities. This is the big one, Lucky people are really good at creating circumstances where opportunities can happen and then noticing when they do. Let me give you an example. Let's say you want to change careers. An unlucky person might send out 100 resumes online and then complain that they're not getting responses. They're doing the work, right? But they're doing it in the most passive way possible. And a lucky person, they're going to networking events. They're reaching out to people for informational interviews. They're posting on social media about their interest. They're telling everyone they know that they're looking for something new. And then, seemingly by luck, someone mentions an opening, or they meet someone at a party who knows someone, or a random LinkedIn connection leads to an opportunity. Is that luck, or is that just probability? If you meet 5 new people, you have 5 new potential connections. If you meet 50 new people, you have 50 potential connections. The math isn't magic, it's just volume. But here's the key. Lucky people also notice opportunities when they appear. They're paying attention. They're open to possibilities they didn't expect. Unlucky people miss opportunities because they're either not creating the conditions for them, or they're too rigid about what an opportunity is supposed to look like. I can't tell you how many times I've heard someone say, I never get lucky breaks, while also turning down invitations, avoiding small talk, and just staying in their little comfort zone. You can't catch a break if you're not in the arena where breaks happen, right? Right. All right, principle number 2, lucky people listen to their intuition. So lucky people trust their gut, not in like a reckless, impulsive way, but in as something feels right or wrong about this way. Wise men found that lucky people make decisions based on intuition more often than unlucky people, and when their gut tells them something is off, they listen. Now, skeptics would say that that's just confirmation, bias. They remember the times their gut was right and forget the times it was wrong. But I think it's more than that. I think intuition is actually your subconscious picking up on patterns and information that your conscious mind hasn't fully processed yet. Lucky people have learned to trust that process. Unlucky people either ignore their intuition entirely and rationalize their way into bad situations, or they're just so anxious that they can't tell the difference between intuition and fear. Here's how you can tell the difference. Intuition is usually quiet and calm. It's a knowing. Fear is loud and chaotic. It's a panic. If you're about to take a job and something feels off, not scared off, but wrong off, that's intuition. Lucky people walk away. Unlucky people talk themselves into it. And then 6 months later, they're miserable, wondering why they're so unlucky. All right. Principle number 3, lucky people expect good fortune. So, lucky people genuinely expect things to work out, not in like a delusional, I don't need to try way, but in a, I'm going to be okay, things tend to work out for me way. And that expectation changes everything. Because when you expect good things, you're more likely to take risks. You're more likely to try. You're more likely to interpret setbacks as temporary rather than permanent. Unlucky people expect things to go wrong, and so they don't try as hard. They give up faster, and they take any setback as confirmation of their unluckiness. It becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. And let me give you a concrete example. 2 people apply for the same job, okay? Person A expects to get it. Person B expects to be rejected. Person A prepares thoroughly, stays confident in the interview, follows up with enthusiasm. Person B prepares half-heartedly, is nervous and apologetic in the interview, and assumes they didn't get it, and doesn't follow up. So who is more likely to get the job? Now, person A might not get it, but their expectation of success made them behave in ways that increased their odds. And when they don't get it, they think, okay, that one wasn't meant for me. The right one's coming. Person B doesn't get it and thinks, see, I knew I was unlucky. Nothing ever works out for me. Same outcome, completely different interpretation, completely different impact on future behavior, guys. All right. Principle number 4, lucky people lucky people turn bad luck into good. So this is the most powerful one and it's the hardest to develop. Lucky people have this incredible ability to reframe negative events as opportunities for growth or as blessings in disguise. And I'm not talking about toxic positivity where you pretend everything is fine. I'm talking about genuine resilience and perspective shifting. So an unlucky person breaks their leg and thinks of course that happened to me. I have the worst luck. Same event, completely different frame. Now I know what you're thinking, but what about genuinely terrible things? What about trauma and loss and real suffering? And you're right, I'm not saying that positive thinking can erase real pain or that you should gaslight yourself into pretending devastating events are actually good. But what I am saying is once you're through the initial pain, once you've processed the grief or the trauma, you have a choice about what story you tell yourself about it. You can tell yourself, this ruined my life. I'll never recover. Or you can tell yourself, this was the worst thing that ever happened to me and it changed me and I'm still here. And maybe I'm stronger now in ways I couldn't have been otherwise. And both can be true, but only one of those stories will help you move forward. All right, now let's flip it. Let's talk about the psychological patterns that keep people stuck in an unlucky mindset. Pattern 1, victim mentality. This is the big one. If you believe that life is happening to you rather than with you or through you, you're going to feel unlucky. Because victim mentality puts you in a passive position. You're not an agent in your own life. You're just a person things happen to. And when you're in that mindset, you don't take responsibility for creating opportunities. You wait for them. And when they don't come, you blame external circumstances. And I'm not saying that external circumstances don't matter. Of course they do. Privilege is real. Some people genuinely have harder paths than others. But even within those constraints, you have agency, you have choices. And the minute you give up that agency and decide, I'm just unlucky, you've trapped yourself. Pattern 2, confirmation bias. If you believe you're unlucky, you will find evidence everywhere. You'll remember every time something went wrong and forget every time something went right. I mean, this is just how the brain works. We see what we're looking for. So if you're looking for evidence that you're unlucky, congratulations, you will find it. Pattern 3, closed body language and energy. This one's subtle but powerful. Unlucky people tend to be more closed off, like literally crossed arms, looking at their phone, avoiding eye contact, leaving events early. And that closed off energy sends a signal. Don't approach me, don't engage with me. So people don't, and then they wonder why opportunities never come their way. Lucky people have open body language. They smile. They make eye contact. They linger at an event a little longer. They signal availability and openness. And people respond to that, Pattern 4, rigid expectations. Unlucky people, they often have very specific ideas about how things are supposed to happen. And when life doesn't follow that script, they feel unlucky. But lucky people, they're flexible. They're open to opportunities that don't look like what they expected. Unlucky people say no to anything that doesn't fit their narrow definition of what they're looking for. And in doing so, they miss 1,000 possibilities. Okay, now I want you to take this in a slightly more spiritual direction because I think there's a connection between what we call luck and what spiritual people might call alignment or flow. when you are in alignment, when you're living according to your values, when you're pursuing things that genuinely matter to you, when you're being authentic, things tend to just work out. And not because the universe is rewarding you necessarily, but because you're operating from a place of clarity and purpose. You're making decisions that are actually right for you, not decisions based on fear or what you think you're supposed to do. And when you're making decisions from that aligned place, even the failures tend to redirect you somewhere better. I think a lot of what we call bad luck is actually misalignment. You're forcing something that isn't meant for you. You're staying in a job or relationship or city that's wrong. And so everything feels hard and nothing works out. And then when you finally make the change, when you quit the job, in the relationship, move to the new city, suddenly you feel lucky again. Opportunities appear. Things click into place. Was that luck, or was that just you finally getting out of your own way? I think lucky people are often just people who are better at recognizing when they're out of alignment and course correcting quickly. They don't stay in situations that aren't working out of fear or obligation. They trust themselves enough to pivot. And that looks like luck from the outside, but it's really just self-awareness and courage. All right, so how do you actually become luckier? Here are some practices you can do if you'd like to. You can do the luck journal. For 1 week, write down every lucky thing that happens to you, no matter how small. And I guarantee if you actually pay attention, you'll realize you're way luckier than you think. You've just been filtering out the positive and focusing on the negative. And say yes more for 1 month. Say yes to every reasonable social invitation, even if you don't feel like it. And practice optimistic interpretation. When something ambiguous or mildly negative happens, practice reframing it. Didn't get that job? That job wasn't right for me. Something better's coming. Got stuck in traffic. This gave me time to listen to the podcast I've been meaning to catch up on. It's not about denying reality. It's about practicing flexibility in how you interpret events. And trust your gut and then act. When something feels wrong, walk away, even if it looks good on paper. Keep track of what happens. Lucky people trust their gut because they've learned through experience that it's usually right. Gratitude as a luck amplifier. Every night, write down 3 things you're grateful for, okay? Because gratitude shifts your focus from what's missing to what's present. And that shift in focus makes you feel luckier, which makes you act in ways that create more luck. So here's what I want you to take away from this. You are not a victim of random chance. You have way more control over your luck than you think. Not complete control. Obviously, random shit happens, good and bad. But you have control over how you position yourself, how you perceive events, and how you respond to them. And those 3 things, positioning, perception, response, are basically the recipe for luck. Lucky people are not special. They're not blessed by the universe. They're just people who've figured out how to create conditions for good things to happen. Notice when they do and make the most of them when they arrive. You can learn this. But you can practice this. You can become a luckier person. But it requires letting go of the story that you're just unlucky, that life is against you, that nothing ever works out. Because as long as you believe that story, you'll keep proving it's true. So maybe the real question isn't, why am I so unlucky? Maybe the question is, what would I do differently if I believed I was lucky? Just try that for a month, see what happens, okay? Thanks for listening, guys. If this shifted your perspective at all, let me know. And remember, luck isn't something you find, it's something you create. All right, guys, thanks for listening. Please hit that follow button and share Randomness with a friend. And I'll talk to you guys next time.
Free audio post-production by alphonic.com.